proposed pension. But now, Senator Halwale, you mentioned about what is happening with current sitting parliamentarians and the demand, because it's not even a proposal, they're demanding to be paid salaries for 8 months after they stop working, because elections are slated for 8th of August this year, but they're demanding that they be paid for their salaries up to 8th of March next year. That means it will cost the taxpayer at least another 3 billion shillings. Yes, I know the senators here, this matter is actually being handled at the National Assembly level, but I'm sure if it goes through, it will affect or rather benefit the senators as well. So it would be very interesting to hear what they have to say about this, because Senator Halwale sounds like he wants to oppose it. Probably in public he'll oppose it. Will you oppose it when it comes to Senate?
Let me tell you, I don't know what's wrong with members of parliament. Why do they bring up issues that are already provided for by the Constitution? What they should be telling the public is that let the Constitution work as it is. What does the Constitution say about it? Article 1 or 2. Allow me to read to the public.
Date of election.
1 or 2 says, the term of each House of Parliament expires on the date of the next general election. So without that noise, these 2 houses, the term will end on 8th of August 2017. That's the Constitution.
Yes.
So why talk about it?
Yeah. Yet,
so on 8th of August 2017, after that, anybody receiving money will be illegal money.
Yes.
But before 8th of August 2017, any money received by an MP is within the constitutional provision. So what are they talking about? They are making members of the public think that we are about to go and rob the treasury.
Yes. Well, I know now you're no longer an MP, so from outside looking in, you know how Parliament works. And you know MPs have the power to twist treasury. And that's what they're doing, because they've already threatened they will not pass the next budget unless this thing is actually enforced, that their salary should be approved for an extra 8 months. Do you think it's possible that Treasury can wiggle out of this?
In fact, I'm very happy that Senator Halwale has read us the lowest stance within the Constitution. We should go by that. And anything out of that is something that we as Kenyans should oppose. And you know, we have a tendency in this country to ignore the law. And I think we should teach all our people, particularly our young people, that without the law, you'd have, you know, without the law, you'll have no government.
Yes.
So we should go what the law says. And it doesn't sound good at all if they wanted to be re-elected and they push for this. I can assure you it will not be 75% who will go home. It will probably be 80, 85.
And the legislators are very interesting, because they are demanding that this payment be done before the term expires, as the Constitution says, on 8th of August. But they're demanding for the salaries for the extra 8 months, even before they leave office. Bwana Kimani Wamatangi, we know the National Assembly has the ability to force Treasury to do this. Well, and you know, they will go ahead and do this, despite what the senator here is saying. Do you think it will happen?
I think, to my mind, the first thing that we need to point out is that we have to acknowledge that there is still a lot of work that we need to do in refining and harmonizing the Constitution with its various provisions, including some of the laws. I'll tell you why I say so. You see, Bonnie here has read a very important article which really defines when the term ends. And then you go to other legislation and now look at what is defined as the term itself. You know, and when you go to what defines again the term itself, it's contradictory. I remember there was a case that was filed by members of the County Assembly, I think through their speaker. And in the County Government Act, it defines very clearly how long the term of a member of the County Assembly is. It defines it as 5 years. And with that inconsistency, and this we need to guide our members of the public well, because our laws require to be harmonized, harmonized to ensure that the provisions and the other legislation that is in place all speak to the same thing. Remember, how did we arrive at the date of the general election in August of 2017? It was through a ruling of the Supreme Court. Remember, somebody went to court, challenged, when is the date of this election going to be? And the Supreme Court, in its interpretation, gave this particular date. If that had been left without the interception of the Supreme Court, there would have been a variety of dates, just like you have already had. Some saying it's expiring in March of 2018, others it's expiring in December, others when they read what the Constitution says, that the election shall be held on the second Tuesday of August of the 5th year.
Senator, what you're saying is that the MPs actually have a point.
Let me make my point. What I'm saying is this, that you see, from both sides of the debate, what would happen is that somebody can try to hang on the law. What the best way forward, even as we follow this law, is for members of parliament in both houses of the legal committees to ensure that they initiate a move to harmonize what this law says, including lawyers like Mutula Jr., such that you don't have this lacuna, this gap in the law that defines precisely this what the time is. I say that because whether we like it or not, members of the county assemblies are already in court with this matter. What the judge will say after this, we do not know. But as far as I'm concerned as a person, we should follow the law. The Constitution is clear.
This article that says that the election date, that's the end. We have a lawyer in the House, and probably you could advise us on, is there a gap in the law between what Senator Halwale said and what Senator Wamatangi says, because it says there are other provisions that are bringing in the confusion on when the term actually ends?
No. There's no confusion. This confusion and conflict is only existing in our minds and in our stomachs, and nowhere else. I want to associate myself with Senator Halwale entirely, but add the following. An Article 116, which I can read, 3 states as follows: an act of parliament that confers direct pecuniary interest on members of parliament shall not come into force until after the next general election. So in addition to what Senator Halwale says, this seals our fate completely. Anything that would give us direct benefit would be unconstitutional. To Senator Wamatangi, there is absolutely no conflict about the date of the election. The only small issue appearing in Article 177 is what to me appears to have been an editing error on the part of county assemblies that reads a term of 5 years. But I've told them before, and I'll repeat again, that county governments are not county assemblies alone, because the election of governor, the election of a senator, the election of a president is all supposed to be on the same date. So when they insist that their term goes all the way to March, are they saying that they can exist beyond the term both of the county government as defined? So therefore, this is what Paul Kimani Wamatangi is saying, is that 5 years is actually in the Constitution. And I say it's an editing error. But lastly, to finish this, and for those who have gone to court, and I advised, because the person who brought this issue at the Joint Select Committee was the Speaker of the County Assembly of Makueni, and I offered to give him free advice. And I told him, boss, please, the person who went to court and asked for an interpretation, an advisory opinion on the date of the general election, the date was given, but it came with a caveat, and that caveat everybody must understand. It says members to be elected in the first, because they call it a transitional parliament. They said the members of that transitional parliament must be prepared that their term will not be 5 years.
Exactly.
So everybody went and sought to be elected on notice that you will not serve for 5 years in full as he wanted. So that's why I'm saying this is only existing in an illusion in our minds and in our stomachs. And that's it. The law is clear.
The problem comes.
Fred, something I wanted to add that's very, very important, because from what Senator Mutula says, you see, the problem we have here is exactly what he said. You cannot have a scenario that you describe that is provided for in the Constitution as an editing error. You have to correct it. If you leave it and say that this is an editing error that says 5 years, but it was an error and it is in the Constitution, it is wrong. The way forward is to remove it, such that it is clear that this is the time when this expires. And you don't have these games.
Can I say something? Let me tell Wamatangi something. Because the date, as Senator Halwale has pointed out, the date of the election is well defined. But there's what the members of county assembly are alluding to 5 years. There's a principle of law, because we must interpret this constitution to breathe life into it, as Article 260 says. There's a principle of interpretation, we call it the golden rule of interpretation, that you shall interpret the law in such plain English that it shall not lead to an absurdity. You understand? So what Senator Wamatangi is talking about is an absurdity. That you can have a provision that reads when all of you will be elected, but at the same time it gives one cadre of people an extension beyond the date of that election. That is what I am talking about. It's an absurdity.
And Senator Halwale, of course, parliamentarians are demanding that this payment be done before August 8th. Yes? What if they actually manage to arm treasury to do this?
If they manage, and I think they can. And let me remind them about an experience that took place in the 9th Parliament. The Parliamentary Service Commissioners of that time paid themselves allowances outside the law. Somebody went to court, they ruled. This money was recovered from those who had the money, or is still being recovered from there.
So it is possible that if it's ruled as an illegality, even if they're paid,
somebody will go to court, and eventually this money is going to be recovered from members of parliament.
The constitution is very clear, and these two gentlemen all sit in the Public Accounts Committee. And that is the principle we use when we are talking about governors and their obvious ostentation, or it's called opulence. The constitution is very clear that you shall be held accountable as a public officer, whether you are in office or not.
Yes. So even if you leave office, you can pursue the
That is the law that we have been visiting upon most of the governors who are errant, who think that they can continue to loot public funds and confiscate. And that's why, you saw, like in yesterday's press, I came under a lot of fire from governors because of a law which I have proposed.
Assumption to office
of governors. That we've also amended to provide that 90 days to the day of the election, that you cannot have governors trying to introduce funny expenses, the projects that we want to launch this and that, just when they're going to the election, so that they can find a conduit to use public money to run their campaigns. Because once you have filed what you call your county assets and liability register, says this is what I did with my money, close it, look at it, audit it, and give me a clean bill as they leave office to hand over to the next person. Then you cannot come in the interceding period. But you see that
there's some hope that if National Assembly and the Senate, because I know some even in the Senate are supporting of this issue, if you manage to do it and it's declared an illegality by the courts, we will follow you.
I'm hoping. I'm will go to court and declare this payment unconstitutional.
Okay. Now I want us to wrap up our news review this morning, but of course we cannot do that without discussing the big matter. That's the issues happening within the Wiper Party. Now, of course, this past week has not been very comfortable for the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka. One of the headlines, I think, was on Monday or Tuesday, was actually indicated that he was the weakest link in NASA, that he looked like the most likely to bolt out of NASA. Of course, he's been branded a chameleon, a watermelon, weakest link, crybaby. One of the caricatures in the newspapers yesterday had him standing on a podium shedding tears. Now, we're seeing all this bedeviling this one gentleman, but then now within the party himself, the party which he leads, that's the Wiper Party movement, there is if I may call it a mutiny. 8 legislators, I'm not sure if the senator is one of them, have openly defied their party leader. Now let's watch this story, then we can discuss it.
What did you have for breakfast?
I'm
With 32 years of political experience under his belt, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka sees 2017 as his best chance of clinching the coveted prize. But he is well aware that that chance can best be assured if his opposition colleagues shelve their ambitions in his favor.
Naambia ndugu zangu Raila na Mudavadi na Weta wanipatie laini ninyoroshe watu waenda nyumbani mapema.
With the nascent National Super Alliance, the battle for the ticket now has 4 aspirants: Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula. The Jubilee coalition watching the unfolding political events with glee.
Mudavadi ndio alikuja na NASA. Sasa unaambiwa either atakuwa president ni Raila ama Mudavadi. Kalonzo mbaki nini? Second fiddle. Atoke NASA, atoke code, aje kwetu, tutamuingiza kwenye serikali.
Tunamkaribisha Mheshimiwa Kalonzo aje ndani ya serikali ya Jubilee. Sisi Wakamba tuache kutumiwa kugawa wa Kenya.
But he remains adamant that he is at the heart of NASA's game plan.
I'm going for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya on a NASA ticket. If that means I'm defecting to Jubilee or running alone, so be it.
The Jubilee offers coming at a time when his political loyalists in Kitui Senator David Musila and his Makueni counterpart Mutula Kilonzo Jr. have hinted to possibility of Musyoka ditching the opposition alliance to run a lone race. What's more troubling for them is Musyoka's support for the re-election of Governors Julius Malombe and Kivuda Kibwana of Kitui and Makueni respectively. Musila and Mutula are angling to dethrone the 2 governors under a Wiper ticket. In a news conference, Musila led a host of legislators who endorsed him for the Kitui gubernatorial seat.
All of us, whether Wiper or Jubilee or whichever party or NAC, we all stand for Musila because we feel he stands for the aspirations and the dreams of Kitui.
That I'm going to be a candidate for governor of Kitui County, regardless of the party.
Jubilee.
The Jubilee party now keen to infiltrate the Ukambani region for a slice of the pie, the basket of more than 1 million voters who largely favor Musyoka's Wiper party.
That reminds me of that famous book, Things Fall Apart. The center cannot hold. Yes. Senator Mutula Kilonzo, your name has been mentioned there.
Yeah, by your report.
Yes. It is your opportunity to defend, to refute, or to clarify.
There has been this notion carried out through the press that Mutula is interested in being a governor. That statement is incorrect, because I've never declared an intention to become a governor of Makueni. I've insisted, and still insist on record, that the political party Wiper, in which I am the vice chairman, must field a candidate for the gubernatorial position. And the reason is because it has created a confusion where we appear as if, as Wiper, we support another political party for gubernatorial, yet that political party called Muungano has fielded candidates even against Wiper and myself. I said that creates a confusion amongst the public, where Wiper enjoys even more support than Kitui County. Number 2, there's been a rumor circulated, and it's on WhatsApp platforms, by enemies of Wiper, that there is a possibility that our party leader has been compromised, is going to leave, etc., etc. And we have made those pronouncements. But first of all, that if those pronouncements are correct, that they will lead to a revolt. But more importantly, to say that Senator Musila issued a press conference as chairman of Wiper and said, we are not aware of any aspirations of the party leader contesting as an individual candidate or leaving the party or leaving the coalition. We have stated also clearly, and I'm on record as saying, that our bargaining power as Wiper remains much more strong in CORD than it would ever be in any other political affiliation. All these things that CS Najib Balala is saying and Sonko are all dreams. that they are telling Mukambas now that we welcome Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka into Jubilee. He left. There's a reason why he left. And any person who has any doubt about his position should read his book Against All Odds, as to the sort of atrocities visited upon him. And therefore, what makes him think that it's going to change, both by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, when they told him, you don't have votes, we can only give you a lower position. So it's no interest whatsoever. And it's not a revolt. Unlike many political parties, we in the Wiper speak our minds and speak them clearly without hiding. And those positions are very clear. So there's no revolt.
There's no revolt.
There's no revolt. I have not announced that I want to be a governor, but I've stated my position clearly.
That Wiper has to have a candidate.
That Wiper must field its candidates.
Yes.
And it must field its candidates clearly so that the public understand. If there's another political party in Ukambani that wants to compete, we must compete on an equal platform. We can't be carrying another political party called Muungano, and then the political party finds a Wiper.
And of course what you're referring to is the governor from Makueni, Professor Kivutha Kibwana. He is a Muungano party governor.
Yes.
Yet your party leader supports him for re-election. And not a candidate from within the party.
Yet Muungano has the liberty of fielding candidates against all other...
Even against you, the same.
Even against me. They have announced clearly. That is what I was referring to.
Clarified. Well, no, I guess as a senior politician, of course, you've worked with the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka for a while. What you see happening now, even when it comes to Jubilee and them inviting any of the principals within the opposition to join Jubilee, we've not seen them inviting Musalia Mudavadi so openly. We've not seen them trying to invite Moses Wetangula. We've not seen them trying to invite Raila Odinga. But when it comes to Kalonzo, they feel that their invites could have some effect. That's why he's being described as probably the weakest link within the opposition leadership. Do you think it is a fair description of the former vice president?
I think I know him very well. We work together. I don't know whether he has been approached by the top leadership in Jubilee. I do not have that information. But talking to people from the area, we get the impression that Kalonzo wants to be relevant in 2022. And therefore, he's going to break away, stand for a presidential candidature, so that it gives him momentum to go for the real thing in 2022.
Yes.
I think the senator is here to tell us about that, but that's the information I get. But you must also remember that he has been let down in the past, and I don't think he can do it the second time.
Yes.
So of course our hope is that NASA is not going to be a reality.
And of course if Kalonzo bowls, it works very well for Jubilee.
Yes, we are hoping that either Kalonzo or Weta bolts out.
And you're banking on Kalonzo bolting out.
And we go happily all the way to the bank with our votes.
Yes. See, now this is the narrative. This is the narrative that's being repeated over and over again. When you see a number of 1, 2, 3, 4 Jubilee politicians speaking about one particular candidate within the opposition in this particular way, it does send a signal. Do you think it is unfair for anyone else from outside looking in to actually brand Kalonzo Musyoka the weakest link in the opposition?
It is the Bible which says that they have eyes, they do not see, they have ears, they do not hear. You've seen it here. The clip has just been played. The so-called members of parliament that are now revolting are not doing so because Kalonzo has refused to run or he has been denied an opportunity to run. They're doing that in response to something which I told co-principal Kalonzo with a lot of respect, that he miscalculated. When he went public and said that Malombe should be given an opportunity to run a second time. They are responding to that. They are telling them...
It is a separate issue.
Yeah, it's a separate issue. They are telling them, let there be free and fair elections in Kitui County. That's all they are saying.
Simple.
Simple. It's got nothing to do with the president. If you think Kalonzo is weak, ask.
We're not saying he's weak.
Not you. I'm saying if you people who think. Not you. If you people think Kalonzo is weak in this coalition, ask Dr. Wekesa and I. In 1997, we supported a presidential candidate called Michael Kijana Wamalwa. He got 400,000 votes. In 2013, I supported a presidential candidate called Mudavadi. He got 484,000 votes. But Kalonzo, when he ran, he got 1 million votes. Today, Kalonzo is sitting on the same platform with Mudavadi, Raila, Wetangula, and himself. Out of those four, it is Raila who has demonstrated a following of 5 million people. Kalonzo has demonstrated a following of 1 million people. Mudavadi has demonstrated a following of 484 million people. So how can
what about your party leader? You're leaving him out.
In fact, that is what I was going to end up with.
Yes.
Before I comment to that one, I say, out of these three who have already demonstrated, who is the weakest? It is not Kalonzo. Out of those three who have already run,
where does that leave your party leader?
Now my party leader. That is the hidden magic, the hidden bullet. Probably given an opportunity to demonstrate what he's able to bring on the table, he might bring fewer votes than Mudavadi or bring more votes than Raila. That is how the law of random selection works.
Why are you so convinced? Why are you so convinced from the Jubilee side? Why are you so convinced that if at all there's anyone to invite from the opposition side, it should be Kalonzo Musyoka? Why do you think is the best one you can beat?
Let me clear two things. First, when Najib Balala was speaking and Sonko was speaking, they were speaking after the fact. After this information was already out and the push and pull between Kalonzo and his colleagues was obvious, that he's almost being edged out, that he's not sitting pretty. That is when they spoke, and they said, if this is how it looks like in your party, welcome. They spoke after the fact. But
where did he say that on that clip?
This morning, you know, I have nothing personal against the other members of the coalition, but because I have nothing to lose in NASA, I'm not a member. I'm a member of Jubilee. I want to speak the truth to Kalonzo. First, I want to remind him as a politician to remember the famous Kiswahili saying, Kikulacho kingoni mwako. And I want to tell Kalonzo this morning that this whole war, this campaign and propaganda that is out, that Kalonzo is the weakest link, that he's going to be kicked out and that he's likely to bolt, this is coming from NASA, from his own colleagues. And I'll tell you why they're sponsoring this one. They're sponsoring it because, one, Kalonzo, and these are facts, and facts are facts. Amongst all the four principles, ask yourself, who has got the highest implied legitimacy to run with Raila? It is Kalonzo. Who has been there longest? Either in ODM, in CORD, and now in NASA. It is Raila and Kalonzo. Mudavadi and Wetangula are newcomers. So if you were to follow fact, it would be automatic that the ticket would be between Raila and Kalonzo. But because, you know, and I want to remind him again, who labeled him a watermelon? It is not Jubilee. It is the same guys he's with in NASA now. They're the ones who call him a watermelon. And they have advanced this because they don't want this guy to have what he should have. Right now, when they do their arithmetic to suit what they think they should get, they see him as an inconvenience right now. And if he is out, then they can have the ticket they want. So let Kalonzo not even waste his time trying to look for people outside there who are telling him. The people who are sponsoring this propaganda, the people who want him out more and to be labeled and carry that tag are the guys he's with. If I were him, I would tomorrow morning be knocking at a place where I know come election day I would be staying.
And that should be?
He would find his place space, room in Jubilee. But I said yesterday, but without already he first must clean himself of the sins of NASA.
Okay. But Senator, before you say what you want to say, Senator Matangi seems to suggest that yes, the problems of bedeviling your party leader seem to be coming from within the opposition, and your party leader as well, in his various issues that he's had with his hitherto lieutenants, Mudama, now he's squabbling with the party chairman, David Musila. He's even accused, at least one of them, of working for a different principle within the opposition. So could there be some truth that yes, that even the problems within Wiper are part of this a bigger scheme to affect Kalonzo Musyoka's position within the opposition? That probably, yes, as Senator Matangi says, within NASA there are people working to even destabilize Kalonzo within Wiper itself.
Absolutely, that's what it is. It's not. It cannot be in the opposition, and it cannot be in NASA. This is propaganda that is being done by Jubilee, because they are the ones who are coming up with the money. They are the ones who are coming up with.
Oh, there's money involved.
They are the ones who are circulating this propaganda.
Who are taking the money?
Jubilee, yes. They are the ones who are circulating. And I can tell you on good authority that the first statement I had it from a Jubilee senator directed at me.
Yes.
Telling me that one day, Senator, you will find yourself in a boat that had already been sold. It's a propaganda that I had a year ago. It's not new. What I'm simply saying is that, and somebody mentioned it, that Jubilee has no interest other than splitting the Kamba vote. They don't have an interest in Kalonzo. Their interest is to ensure that the Kamba vote is split, so that the Kambas do not collectively get into NASA. They split their vote because of numbers. They have done their arithmetic. So it is in the interest of Jubilee to split NASA by these pretensions, so that the Kambas then split their votes. It is not in the interest of NASA, and it is not in the interest of any of the core principles to have Kalonzo board. So they will not start that propaganda.
But remember,
because simple, it would lead to a very bad narrative. If you are to leave Wetangula, Raila and Musalia as a coalition, it would not have that national outlook that NASA has, and therefore it cannot be. It cannot be. It can only be a Jubilee propaganda.
How would you buy that? I said, and it is,
what do you mean?
It is on record. It is. CORD are the ones who labeled Kalonzo a watermelon in the first place. Those members of parliament who sat there in that press conference are not members of Jubilee. Those are members of Wiper.
No, but they were referring to Musila. They were referring to
Musila. You know,
in context.
The architect of this game is standing far and safe and poking from very far, because he knows once you destabilize Kalonzo right from his base there, then it will look like he has nothing to bring to the
table. Gentlemen, I think the point has been made.
Tell your guys to
which guys?
In NASA, you're there the core
but we have
gentlemen, I'll give you an opportunity to give a final words on that issue or any other headline that we've had. Remember, the voter listing exercise still continues. 5 days to the end of this exercise. Numbers are looking good in some regions, very bad in others. Western Kenya has been affected. 35% is what they're recording in terms of voter registration, which is very poor. Nyanza is doing 41%, which is also poor. Nairobi, which is considered also an opposition region with regard to the last election, is also doing 31%. Regardless of the fact that it is a metropolis and access to these services should be automatic. At the same time, Central Kenya is recording 66% voter registration. One of the headlines I'm reading inside there has the Deputy President smiling and saying, yes, we have the numbers, it is looking good. He's already smelling victory. As you give your final words, please comment on that. Let's start with Senator Mutula.
This has been a very skewed process, and skewed to the extent that we have said that Kiambu County, for example, has had the advantage of getting the identity cards delivered to them as quickly as possible to be able to run the numbers that they are running. Unlike Makueni, for example, where although there's an order that ID cards be issued in 3 days, it's taking just 1 week to do the paperwork. What I would think would happen, and what I have proposed would happen, and having had participated in the Joint Select Committee, is that once we procure the new equipment, we'll give a window of 30 days somewhere where we'll do a proper listing. And then people...
Another exercise to register?
Another exercise.
Wow.
Because the current listing of 14.5, and this was said by the chairman of RMS, SK Macharia, that we listed 14.5 million in 30 days. And therefore, once we have the new equipment and people have been facilitated, as we are saying, Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga yesterday stated, and it has happened yesterday in Makueni constituency, that the queue for the people who want IDs is longer than the queue of the people who want to register. I had a station where my staff, there were 100 people who filled in the forms, and only 9 took the voters card.
Yes.
That is the disparity I'm talking about.
Okay.
And therefore I'm hoping that this process can be cleaned up. I'm happy that the chairman Chebukati has followed the spirit of the new law, that there should be consultation with stakeholders.
Yes.
And this should continue.
Yes.
He has done such a splendid job in a few days that the confidence that we need in that commission is beginning to come back.
Okay.
That they will be consulting regularly. The principals will not be speaking in platforms, but all issues concerning either its listing, registration, equipment, procurement, to avoid chicken gate. All political players and stakeholders must participate so that we can give what I call sanitize the processes, because by accepting the process, Kenyans will begin to accept results on 9th of August 2017. Thank you for it.
Thank you, Senator. Dr. Noah Wekesa, of course you can choose to comment on any other headline, but you can also talk about the voter listing as well.
Yes, I think like Senator Halwale, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Chebukati, who incidentally comes from my original Kwanza constituency, and I know his family very well. To congratulate him for having had the chance to serve Kenyans in this capacity. I think in our region, Trans Nzoia and even part of Western, the problem of people not turning up to register is tied very closely with the people not having IDs. I think this is a problem that we must solve. We should not just target listing of voters because a general election is coming. It should be an exercise that we should take very seriously throughout the 5 years, making sure that Kenyans get IDs, making sure that they register as voters. But having come, being a person from the border, there's been a report that members of parliament have complained. I know Nangabo and Wekesa, the MP for Saboti, they have raised an issue of Ugandans registering as voters. I want to state here clearly that I come from the border and this is a reality.
So we're getting foreigners registering as voters.
I wouldn't just say foreigners. Ugandans have been are being brought by lorries to register as voters.
Wow.
in both Saboti and Endebess.
Wow,
and this we must discourage.
Yes, and that's a huge issue that could actually need the involvement of the IEBC to clarify exactly what is happening in those border areas of Saboti and which is the other area you said?
Endebess.
Yes.
Saboti and Endebess.
Yes.
Senator Halwale.
I want to ask members of the public to treat figures as scientific as they are supposed to be. The narrative that seems to be being built and spoken to by Deputy President yesterday, that the numbers are looking good, is intended to blindfold our people so that when they attempt to rig, our people accepted that after all they were leading in the numbers. As of yesterday, the figures are here. IEBC had registered 2.1 million voters. Of this, If you add the ones in Meru, plus Tharaka, plus Central, plus Rift Valley, the entire Rift Valley, it is 940,000. Those are the so-called the Jubilee strongholds. And when you come to the NASA strongholds, the total is 1.02 million. So the NASA stronghold, before you add on Nairobi, and before you subtract Narok, Kajiado, Trans Nzoia, Turkana from Rift Valley, we are still ahead. So the figures are looking good, not for Jubilee, but for us.
Okay.
The next point I want to make is the issue my senior, Dr. Wekesa, said. It's not a joke. You go to Endebess, you go to Budalangi, and you go to Saboti, Ugandans are being brought to be registered. And you go to Teso South, Ugandans are being brought to be registered. The MP for Teso South, Mary Emase, just escaped arrest in Uganda last week. Her bodyguard was arrested and disarmed by the Ugandans. I don't know how the government has sorted it out. She was there registering the Tesos. Tesos are on both sides of Kenya, just like Luyas are on both sides of Kenya. And the Sabaots are on both sides of Kenya. We have to stop it. Lastly, the point of IDs. IDs, I have done my own experiment. My daughter, Imbohira, turned 20 on 20th of December. And I quickly went and registered her at Marinya for an ID. Up to now, Inga doesn't have an ID. Up to this morning, she doesn't have an ID, having been registered on 20th of December last year. And in Central, Uhuru has directed, after 3 days, the youth, they get their IDs. Members of the public, especially from the NASA strongholds, know that that panic of Uhuru, it is because they don't have numbers. We are going to beat them at this general election. The point is, come out and vote, and we are going to make sure that we stop rigging.
Okay.
The truth.
Thank you, Senator Halwale. Finally, Senator Wamatangi, as we wrap up this meeting this morning.
John
two things. First, I want to say to my colleagues and the strongholds defined by Senator Halwale as NASA strongholds, and the leaders, especially in NASA. First, they need to take this voter registration exercise seriously. And I can tell you, Senator Mutula, what you're saying that about IDs in Kiambu. I want to tell you personally that what we have done is we have taken this exercise extremely seriously.
So
we have meetings every day as leaders of the county to ensure and look at the numbers. We have ourselves gone out of our way. Personally, myself, I have contributed my own 15 vans every day to go around, sensitize people, take them if they have to be to register, and that is why you see the numbers are soaring. Secondly, on this
you're making sure that the IDs come
as you're talking about that there are numbers that seem to be favoring NASA. You remember, Fred, the last time I read out the statistics here, Jubilee, as it is, as of the records at that time, we had registered in excess at that time in the national tally almost 2 million more than the NASA strongholds, having given you everything. And even now, if you analyze the report from IABC on the registration, you see who is leading in registration and who is not.
It's here, sir.
Now, when the deputy president,
of course, the numbers are there available
when
from IDC records.
Says that the numbers are looking good, he says they are looking good amongst our supporters. And I want to remind you, gentlemen, I mean, stop living in the... I mean, stop playing this proverbial ostrich game of hiding your head in the sand. We have support. The DP was speaking that when he was in Ukambani, where you deem you're strong.
He was chased away from Emali yesterday.
And he is telling the people that we are here. We are going to talk to you. We'll ask you to go with us and vote for us. We have supporters even in what you're calling your stronghold. You know. So, gentlemen, the only way for you people to come close in this game of having to win the election first is to ensure that you take this exercise seriously. But let me make this very quick comment to the head of IEBC, and I want to congratulate him. I did before. But I want to remind IEBC and Chebukati that the responsibility of delivering this election clear with the proper result is his. He is the commission.
He will do it.
And he doesn't have to wait to be given dictums and instructions from press conferences by opposition leaders. He should read the law. The dictum, the regulations, the laws are provided for in the Constitution and the other legislations that are available. He should not wait to be told from the offices of NASA that this is what you're going to do, and especially this thing that you've been trying to do every single day, looking for the smallest loophole to try and create a perception that the elections are going to be stolen because you know that you will lose.
Okay.
And losing, if you lose honorably, and admit to it, you need to fight another day.
You can tell I'm not listening.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Kimani Waumatangi, Senator from Kiambu, Senator Boni Halwale from Kakamega, Mutula Kilonzo from Makueni County, and of course, senior politician Noah Mahalanganga Wekesa, former cabinet minister, former MP for Kwanza constituency, and most recently, former co-chair of the Jubilee Steering Committee. Those are the gentlemen helping us look at the headlines this morning. It's been a very nice, informative session. Well, now I have to... Oh, I just remembered I did not give out your Twitter handles, which is your people can get in touch with you directly at Junior_Mutula. That's you on Twitter. At K Boni Mtetezi on Twitter. At K Wamatangi. And when Noah Mahalanganga Wekesa tells me you're not on Twitter, but they can reach you on Gmail, on your email address.
His son is on Twitter.
Noah.wekesa@yahoo.com. Noah.wekesa@yahoo.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been our news review this morning. My name is Fred Ndimuli. On behalf of my co-hosts Joey Mudengi and Willis Waburu, it's good morning. Now we leave you some music from Carlos.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you. It was fun.